I grew up in like ordinary secular Soviet family. No traditions, nothing at all. Soviet Union was really a secular country, no religion, no traditions. I have a Jewish roots, just I'm not Galactic Jew.
Okay.
So I feel the connection, by blood anyway. So then I was asking myself a lot of questions and searching and trying some different paths and meditations and different stuff like that. And then I realized I really feel inside myself this Jewish call, let's say, and I need this Jewish wisdom. So I was trying to get more and more deep, start to read. Then I have met some people, and I I had I've bought a book on Kabbalah maybe when I was like 21, 22. My first book, and then I was traveling to Prague. It's a very interesting mystical city. They have really the spirit and the Kabbalistic spirit. And I was staying at the bridge in Prague, and there is a bridge where you can wish, a dream. And I remember I was staying there having this book, a Kabbalah book in my pocket, and I was making a wish. So the wish was very clear. I said, I don't know who are those people studying this wisdom, and where is this teacher, and where are those guys, who are they? But I really wish to meet them, and I really wish to become the part of their community, the part of their movement. So it was a long time ago.
He's a really dear friend. He's an unlikely friend.
It's not a superior man. It's not a superior complex.
Part of the Jewish global conspiracy to make one world government.
Jewish disunity was the catalyst for anti-Semitism.
The main question here in this war is how will we unite in the future?
So we'll leave it to the bombs then.
This organ called Jew, whatever it is.
I'm afraid the world is facing the nuclear danger.
His name is Vlad, and he lives in Kiev. Vlad, please join us.
The Jew saw them all, beat them all, and is now what he always was. All things are mortal but the Jew. All other forces pass, but he remains. What is the secret of his immortality?
This situation really is kind of extreme, and it really gives you a lot of different questions. First question that you ask yourself is, how many things do you need really for your life? Because, I've been traveling a lot since last 6 months, and I realized that you don't need much. You have your bag with all the needed stuff, and that's it. You can leave and go somewhere.
You need a charger. You always need a charger.
Yeah. You always charge batteries. Yes, this. You always you need to have documents. You need to have money with you. You need to fill up the gas in your car. It has to be filled up, and so that's the basic things. And you're prepared, and also this situation gives you a possibility to answer the most important questions. What is this for? What are you living for? Who is your friends?
People, when you have such an existential crisis, like, are we going to survive? Are more people asking those questions? Are people having those conversations? Or is it mostly going back to just animal survival?
Yeah, animal survival, it's this instinct works only in the first phase, then you get used. So when you have it like temporary, permanently, I'm sorry, this situation, so you kind of get used to it, and then you ask yourself, in the corporeal level, what to do. What can you do? Maybe you should leave somewhere to the country. Maybe you should find some ways, to leave the state. And then you ask yourself like more global things. Okay, what for? What I'm gonna do there? Um, who will I be? You know, what is important that I'm doing in this life? Where am I needed? From another side, maybe I am needed here. You know, maybe there is some kind of mission I have staying here. So that's such kind of questions. So people, of course, they have like more existential questions from time to time. But the biggest problem that people also have a lot of rage. You know, they just start to hate and they want to fight. You know,
Is it coming out between Ukrainians on Ukrainians, or is it
no,
all directed towards Russians?
yeah, it's all directed, of course, towards the Russians and no, in Ukraine, it's more or less everything's like solid right now, and I think, by the way, the big role in this played Zelensky, our president, who is Jewish, and this kind of middle line he's you know, presenting kind of middle line in Ukraine, because he's kind of he's uniting different different kinds of people in Ukraine, and so I think this is like the first time in our history when we have such kind of solid atmosphere in society. Everybody's very having huge solidarity against Russians and also towards each other here.
So is there a sense of brotherhood?
Yes, you know, you can say that. You can say that. Especially, it is connected to the military force. People who serve in army, they feel that, you know, because you know, when you're in the battlefield, you don't have any you know, differences. Everybody's like together, rich and poor, and Jewish, Ukrainians, Russians. Also, a lot of Russians from in Ukraine are fighting against Russians in Russia. So yes, you can say that. You can say that. But I hope it could be, you know, without the war and without the battlefield.
That's a big question, isn't it? I mean, we talked about it in our podcast a few times, how in times of trouble people rediscover that sentiment, but usually when the trouble goes away, the sentiment goes away. We revert to the you know, to the wolf eats wolf kind of mentality. The question is if it can last. And the bigger question for me as well is that, I think we also talked about it, is that now in Israel, the situation is so dire among people that even external pressure doesn't really unite the Jews in Israel as it used to normally. So you don't get that.
What internal pressure? Economic pressure, or what kind of pressure?
Right now in Israel, we have there's very big economic gaps. There's been there's this constant increase in real estate prices. So there's always like the tension between the haves and the have-nots. If you don't have an apartment, you're like, how can I ever buy an apartment here? It's like the cost of an average apartment is like in the millions of shekels, right? It's like I mean, in the center, but still, just to give you the perspective. So there's that. There's the threat from the outside, obviously, and now even more concerning is the threat from the inside. The entire Arab society here is in a very interesting place. On the one hand, and I don't want to make this podcast about the Arab society in Israel. So it's a great topic for a different podcast, maybe. But just on the one hand, it's a society that probably the one that enjoys the best conditions of all Arab societies in the Middle East, right? Like the highest status. Every woman goes to college. People have access to things, and I'm not just talking about just the Arabs in Israel. Even in some Palestinian areas, it's still great conditions, relatively speaking, right? So in overall, there's a huge potential and opportunity and all of that, and at the same time, there now more than ever, there's no direction at all for the young people. There's no really, they don't follow the religious, the moderate religious leaders or the social leaders so much, and there's like a constant deterioration towards extremism, extreme Islam, Hamas type of Islam and that kind of thing. So, and in the last conflict in Gaza, you saw it. I mean, they took to the streets to, go against the Jews here. So again, I don't want to make it about this, but that internal pressure is not bringing Jews together. I don't know how it is for Jews in America.
Vlad,
I know
are people turning to God over there, or what are they turning to?
You know what is interesting? Yes, now I teach in college architecture, and my students are like making diploma projects, and a lot of my students, which was pretty surprisingly for me, they choose to make different temples, let's say, different churches, synagogues, mosques for their diplomas. So I feel this, this interest in students. It's like 90, 20, 22, like this kind of age. And they're kind of they have really interest in that. And I don't know how deep is it, but yes, I can see that people are getting more and more, let's say, spiritual.
Is there any voice that's coming out? Some Ukrainian had a podcast, or someone does a TV show, or all of a sudden some celebrity found God. And is there some kind of personalities that people are?
What is interesting that we have really interesting president administration right now. I'm sorry, I'm speaking about this guy, Zelensky. Yes, I wasn't voting for him last time, and it was like kind of joke for me because he was a comedian, from the beginning. And the story, right? He was
you can remind for people what the story was.
Yeah. The story is that the guy was a comedian, and he made a TV show about like the simple guy becomes president, and and it was really popular, in Ukraine and in Russia. So it's like about just a simple guy. He's becoming a president and he's making reforms and like
a teacher. No, in that show,
it was he was a teacher. He was a school teacher, right? And then so he decided to go to elections to get elected and playing the same role but in the elections, and everybody voted for him, so he became real president. So it was kind of
that's a great strategy, by the way, because you get like this free airtime. You even get paid to act as president, and they can see how you're going to do it as president, and you run for president. This is brilliant.
And also so he came to the office and he took a lot of different really strange guys, from different spheres. And there is one. His name is Alexei Arestovich, and he's like he was all the latest 6 months of the war, 7 months of the war. He was like a spokesman from the office, commenting all the war facts, everything. And by the way, he's kind of very deep person. He has a lot of subscribers. He's a very deep guy. And on his YouTube channel, he's like speaking about political stuff and also about very deep, different spiritual issues. He's not speaking about Kabbalah, of course, which is interesting for me personally, but he knows a lot about it, and he speaks about different religions. He speaks about psychology. He speaks about unity between the people, and this videos gets really popular. You know,
So
people voice.
there's
And
some feeling in the people that, well, I guess is there some feeling in the people that, I saw something with Zelensky recently where he's just like, no, they need to be punished. They need to, we need to get them. But I'm wondering if there's some feeling where people inside are just at the end and they just said, no, everyone needs to just be friends, or we need to figure this out, or we need to come together.
no, man, you can't.
You
You
can't
know,
when you're
yeah,
under
you can't.
attack.
I am telling you, you can't figure it out. And what is interesting about Zelensky is that he came to the office with completely opposite agenda. So the previous president, he was like the representative of the right-wing forces, and like, the war guy, let's say like that. And in the opposite to him, Zelensky came with a peaceful agenda, and he was the one saying that, okay, we're not having war with Russia anymore, because we will have to figure it out. We will have to find a way. I will speak with Putin. I will do what I can do, just to prevent this war. I am not having this war anymore. So he was saying that, and this was his main agenda, why people voted for him. And so it didn't help, so in this case, in this case, unfortunately, the situation is that or we here in Ukraine continue fighting for our existence. It's not about some our desires, or we just want to fight. We're speaking about the existence of the state and the existence of the nation. So if they are coming to kill you, so you don't have really a lot of choices. So unfortunately, you can't figure it out. I don't know what are the mechanisms. Of course, we're speaking about unity, and we have to find the ways. And I'm thinking myself, okay, what kind of unity do we need right now here for this situation to stop? I don't think that we can speak about the unity between Russia and Ukraine right now, because it's no chance. But I think we can speak about the unity around the world. So I think this is the kind of the mission of Ukraine for now, to help the world unite around its values of unity, and and maybe this common situation could influence our local situation, with Russia. But directly with Russia, I know that this will not work.
No, I mean, there's a even in Jewish law, it says, if someone comes to kill you, you have to get up first and kill him first. There's no question. This is you don't just sacrifice yourself. At the same time, in this podcast, and all of our podcasts, we talk a lot about unity. We talk about a lot about the need for education, about unity, for how throughout history Jewish disunity was the catalyst for anti-Semitism, at least in our view. When we look at the patterns, the repeated patterns in history, that's what you get. You see Jews behaving a certain way, Jews leaving the ideal of unity, and then all hell breaks loose around them, and then eventually on them. So you see that in history. We see in Jewish texts all the talk about the need for unity, and yet it's one of those things that if you talk to people about it, they kind of like they brush it off as a great idea. Like, yeah, sure, I'm all about unity, but are you ready to unite with people? No, not with these guys, but in general, I'm all about unity. So the question is, how do you think? And you also study the issue of unity. How do we, even bring that up? How do we make it a thing, a topic of conversation? That's, I don't know. I mean, it's a big question. I'm not expecting a big answer, but it's more like I'm putting it out there.
But in Ukraine, we feel that what you're speaking about, because we had a really strong Jewish tradition here. All the Kabbalists from the mid-centuries and from 18th centuries, and Baal Shem Tov and all the Hasidism came from here, and I think this influenced a lot people here. I mean, Ukrainians, not only Jews. And so when people are having some external threat, they unite and they feel such kind of vibrations. Because I remember we had this Maidan protests
Right.
8 years ago, and people were living in the center of the city, and it was such a great atmosphere there. And even one of my friends, it was a funny situation. One of my friends from Russia, he was traveling to Israel, and he had a stop in Kiev while we had this kind of protest here. And I've met him here, and he told me, like, from the beginning, okay, man, so how is NATO supporting you here? So how are those Americans there, those instructors there, like here? They're making all this problems. I told to him, okay, let's go. And I just took him, and I've took him to the center of the city to show him the atmosphere. And he just like, wow, he was like seeing all those people. They were cooking, they were singing songs, playing guitars. And he was like, wow, it was some kind of congress here. And he was so touched by it. So he took the potatoes, and he started to scratch, he started to he started to help people, cooking in the. So this atmosphere was very strong.
That's the answer right there.
It's kind of like how Occupy was, right, Seth? I mean, at the beginning, but Occupy fell apart, and in Maidan also there were forces working on the background. We saw the documentaries afterwards, mercenaries coming in, shooting people up, creating conflicts.
No, but we know there's forces that will take it apart. But that thing where you take a person who's so cynical about everything, but once he starts to feel it, he just starts peeling the potatoes. Like he's like, I'm in. I think I told you guys this. There's a famous graffiti artist in New York, and he sells his work for $100,000 or a couple $100,000. He had an exhibition at a gallery in New York, and earlier in the day they set him up on the south side of Central Park, painting little things and selling them for $20 each. And maybe he made $40 that day because nobody knew who it was. They just walked past him. Then that evening,
who is he?
Banksy. So that evening he goes to the exhibit, and his pieces are selling for $100,000, $250,000. Because when someone feels that something important is going on here, everybody wants in. But when somebody feels that it's like, I don't know who this is, what's going on, nobody cares. But it's the exact same thing. And so it's like your friend, from the outside, you give it no importance. Once you come in and you feel that there's something happening here, there's something cooking here, people just buy it right away.
Yes, and man, speaking about Russians, why are they doing that? They are doing that mostly for the same sense. Because what do they want? To find this big idea of unity for a big and discrete Russia. They have a lot of different people there, and they need some kind of big idea how to unite people. So this concept of Russian world for them, it's this kind of idea too, So that's why people also from the other side, they can volunteer and they really believe in it, because this idea of something uniting really, gives people a lot of forces and gives people a lot of sense. Of course, it could be better for us if we would have some other, uniting idea, not this kind of idea that you need, to fight against someone, to be united. So I think this is the main deficit right now, for this kind of idea, because really world needs it, and Russians needs it, Ukrainians needs it, everybody needs it.
Vlad, you have an interesting story though, because you're not, we're sitting here, we're talking about the Jewish president and the Jewish traditions and the holidays and everything, but you're not officially Jewish, right? And yet you feel these things in you so much. Maybe it's worth asking what drew you into these ideas, into this.
No, I have a Jewish roots. Just I'm not Galactic Jew.
Okay.
So I feel the connection, by blood anyway. But that's.
But you grew up in a house celebrating Jewish.
No. I grew up. No, of course not. I grew up in ordinary secular Soviet family. So
ham and cheese, ham and batter sandwiches.
Yes. No traditions, nothing at all. Soviet Union was really secular country, no religion, no traditions. Everybody's like. So then I was asking myself a lot of questions and searching and trying some different paths and meditations and different stuff like that. And then I realized I really feel inside myself this Jewish call, let's say, and I need this Jewish wisdom. So I was trying to get more and more deep, start to read. Then I have met some people, and I've bought a book on Kabbalah maybe when I was like 21, 22. My first book, and then I was traveling to Prague. It's a very interesting mystical city, and I was standing in the bridge.
There was a golem in Prague.
Yes. They have really the spirit and the Kabbalistic spirit. And I was staying at the bridge in Prague, and there is a bridge where you can wish, a dream. And I remember I was staying there having this book, a Kabbalah book in my pocket, and I was making a wish. So the wish was very clear. I said, I don't know who are those people studying this wisdom, and where is this teacher, and where are those guys, who are they? But I really wish to meet them, and I really wish to become the part of their community, the part of their movement. So it was a long time ago.
And we mentioned here on this podcast as well that how we bring quotes of Kabbalists who talk about really the wisdom of how to connect people, what's standing between us, our ego, as again many traditions speak of it, but in Kabbalah, as I like to call it here in Hebrew, there's it was one of those places where you find a sort of a clear method of how to actually work with it. It wasn't just saying, look, ego is bad, attachment is bad, desire is bad. Oh, yeah, all those great things. But come on, I live in the 21st century. I whatever I desire, I can just snap my finger and Amazon brings it to my doorstep. So it's not a fair game. It's not like I'm some monk in on a mountain. Here I am dealing with those desires, dealing with those urges. For the most part, if I don't get in the way of other people, I can let my ego loose, let my desires loose. But you start to feel that there's something destructive about it, that there's something unhealthy about it.
Yeah.
So do you feel like there's a way to work with it? There's a way to.
Yeah, man. Anyway, here in Ukraine, you see it very. You have like a very bright illustration of it. We are speaking about the ego. We are speaking about different views on the reality, on the future. How should we live? In what paradigm? How should we unite? This is the question. Or we can unite. This is like a corporeal level, but still we are speaking about the same ego. So how should the main question here in this war is, how will we unite in the future? Or are we going to unite being free and being, more or less having more or less democratical values, accepting one each other, and using this base, we can still be united. Or we need some kind of, strong hand uniting us, or we need some kind of force, external force that's going to unite us, military, policeman, secret service. So that's the question.
Well, no, that's a big question, because I think everybody listening to this is saying, well, this guy, he was born in communist Soviet Union. We know how that story went when they were trying to unite people in this way.
So that's what we have.
So what's the difference? What's the difference there? What didn't work there, and what do you think could work now?
Now they want to rearrange the same thing that they had in Soviet Union, to rearrange it in Russia. So they see, the West world is having trouble also with that uniting, and so they say, okay, so we still have our own way, like we had in Russian Empire and like we had in Soviet Union. So we're gonna, use this method again. And that's why they have really made Stalin popular again. And they have like very postmodernistic atmosphere there now. They're like, having pictures of Stalin plus Jesus Christ plus, plus religion plus different kinds of popes, plus kings of Russia, everything's mixed up. So they are using all the things that can unite people, on different historical paradigms.
Right.
And also, and this idea of uniting with force is very popular in Russia. So that's the main difference.
So. Right. So, well, we know that method again. It didn't go too well. So the question: how will it go? Let's say in Ukraine, if you have this new, a new national desire for it, and as we said, as we started the conversation in the beginning, how would you maintain that idea of unity after the war? Let's say. What can we do that's not happening in Soviet Union, and that's not happening in the West, by the way? Because I don't see the West becoming any more united. I see the West becoming more and more greedy by the day. So
of course, I agree. We need to find in Ukraine as well as in the Western world the idea which will help us unite above all the danger we have. But, we're not on this kind of level of development. So still we have only chance to unite having some kind of external threat right now. So unfortunately, this is the only force that unites people, and they really get united because all the war here in Ukraine, people volunteer a lot. So people, they really bestow, let's say, to the society somehow. They do a lot of work, they spend money, they participate a lot, and so this gives some sense of unity in the society. Also, the Western world, if you will see that it is really united right now around this Ukraine problem. So, and United States really uses the situation to unite the Western bloc, let's say, which was like kind of, going to the different directions last years. So this situation really gives a monolith to the Western bloc. But of course, this is not the best way to unite people, and we have to find some upper motivation, some more high reasons to get together, and I hope we will find it. So there is some ideas how to do it. Of course, we are speaking about the education. Of course, we are speaking about round tables. Of course, we are speaking about complete redevelopment of the educational program for these reasons too. But right now, I think we'll move step by step. Anyway, people having this feeling this threat, they get united and they feel it. It gives them some inner, like we say, reshimo. Some kind of inner
A record, an impression.
impressions. Yes, on that, and they really miss it. They really miss it when it's over. When they're getting to the normal life. So, but
well, I guess the next question is: do you think that do we think that Jews have to play a special role in this process? That's also like a $1 million question we ask a lot of people who come here to this podcast if they think that Jews have a role in it, have at least a special part in it, or is it the same for everyone?
no, Jews 100% play. They already play an important role in the situation because, okay, let's just count the fingers. Like we're having a conflict, and just let's count all the important guys who participate in it. So from one side we have President Zelensky, who is Jewish, and all his office Jews. So we have from another side United States. We have Antony Blinken, Jew. Just a few months ago, Boris Johnson left his office. He had also a Jewish roots. His grandfather was a Jew. Yes. Yes. From another side, we have from the Russian side, we have a lot of Jews too, guys who were not the Putin first circle, but a lot of guys in the office are Jews. I know them really. And one of the ideologists of this Russian world, of Russian expansion, his name is Vladislav Surkov. He's also partly Jew. So already they're playing an important role,
Right. Again, a disproportionate number of Jews in these positions. It was interesting. I was just talking to a friend how just last week Jordan Peterson was in Israel with Ben Shapiro. He came to visit, and they sold like 3,000 tickets, in half an hour. To people really were clamoring to come and see him, and he got on stage and basically with tears in his eyes, he was saying. I mean, he gave a big talk, but towards the end, he was saying, and I'm quoting him now. He says, "As Jews in Israel, are you ever telling the greatest story ever told? Are you choosing according to how you live? For some reason or another, it's not simple to understand it. Everybody's looking here to see how you are dealing with the severe criticism that is turned at you. This tiny people, tiny nation that's in the middle of nowhere, a model for a national sovereign country in a city on top of a hill. You have a moral responsibility, a tremendous moral responsibility, as you've had throughout history, for reasons that are hard to understand. I think it's right to say that the fate of the world depends on the people of Israel. Just like the fate of the world depends on the decision of each and every person, so you turn yourself into light to the nations. You draw people here thanks to what you're capable of doing. You're showing the world how the holy city could look, because we need it. We need it, and it's up to you to do it.
Yes, I completely agree with those words. I completely agree. And I mean, I see it here in Ukraine, so I'm telling you again that I was not voting for Zelensky. And one of the causes I was not voting for him is that I understood that he could fail, and that gonna, we will have like a new wave of anti-Semitism because of that. In the country at war, a Jew president with not really clear understanding of what's going to happen. So I was really afraid of it. But he really united Ukrainians, and he is really now uniting the world. Okay, we're speaking about, let's say, the Western black paradigm, the Western view of the world. Yeah, but still, we should admit that this is the mainstream in the world right now. This is the mainstream of the world ideology. Yeah, the Western civilization way.
It's the main program. Let's put it this way. It's like if there's a global television, here's the main show right now. So for sure. No, I mean I do find it really interesting, and I'm sure some people are listening to this, and including Jews probably, and especially now in America with the whole climate around identities and equality and the big confusion, the big social confusion that's going on around there. People are thinking, well, again, these Jews with their superiority complex and thinking that the whole world revolves around them and they're gonna save the world and all that.
It's not a superior complex. I'm not like an advocate of the Jews right now, but still, just a little picture. Speaking about Jewish superiority, or how do you say?
Superiority complex, yeah.
Superiority complex, right? So Zelensky comes to the battlefield almost every week. He's like, in this Israeli tradition, the generals and the soldiers like equal. He's really simple guy. He's like wearing, $50 sneakers. It's like, jeans and t-shirt, and he's like, leaving to the battlefield, meeting soldiers, eating their food. So this is not about superiority, This is.
Don't get me wrong. But by the way, the other half of people who say this Jews suffer from a superiority complex, they say Jews suffer from an inferiority complex. Yeah. They always like the miserable and everybody's picking on us, and it's just part of the contradiction. I'm just saying that this is sometimes some of the voices that we hear, and again I'm pulling it back to the West again, because in the West you don't want to stand out too much, especially if you're a Jew right now. There's a whole Olympics going on of who's more miserable, who's a greater victim, who suffers most. And the Jews are not allowed to participate in that Olympics, because if they participated, it wouldn't be a fair game, because of course Jews would take all the gold medals, right? So that's why everybody kind of picks, pushes the Jews out of the equation, Jews themselves included. Like let's stay out of it. Let's talk about equal rights for transgenders and for these guys and for those guys and all that stuff. Not for Jews. Because we definitely suffer the most, so we can't even talk about who's suffering now. But I'm thinking that, and this is a point that's close to my heart, and that's the part that we keep, stumbling against, and that is, is it possible that some people, certain people, have a certain role, certain responsibility in humanity, certain function? Just like in our bodies, certain organs have certain functions. That's really the question that we ask first. Just to ask that question. I'm not even saying, okay, what is the role of the Jew or whatever, but just the fact that could it be that we are not equal in that sense? We're all equal. We're all part of the system. We're all of equal rights. But as far as the responsibility, maybe certain parts have a greater responsibility.
You mean you're speaking about the personal role of
personal and also national? I'm just asking, my point is this: one of the biggest contention people have against even and especially today, talking about some unique role that Jews play, light to the nations. We're gonna do. They're like, what are you talking about? That's it. This is like some old, biblical myth. You're not special. I'm not special. We're all not special, and we're all in it together. That's kind of like the popular sentiment, and we're saying no. There has to be a function for a certain group of people, for sure, that's been around for so long, and nature doesn't let it kind of disappear. Just like there's a function for certain organs in the body, there's got to be a function for that organ. This organ called Jew, whatever it is, because you see, it's not a race, it's not an ethnicity, it's not anything, it's not even a religion per se. It's some ideal, right? An idea. So I'm wondering if you feel the same way about it, that there could be a role, a function for this group of people.
First, answering your question, I should admit that there is a plan of world unity in the end, right? So we will be together anyway.
Wait, planned by who? By some secret government?
No. By the way, if there is a secret, Jewish secret, if there is a secret government, it also work by this plan. I mean, it's also the part of this plan.
Who's behind the plan? We want to know who's
it's nature, nature, globalization. Everything is, getting together. We see it in nature. Molecules, atoms, they get united, and all the world, all the levels of nature is the result of this natural globalization. And also people, as a society, we also go through this process. And anyway, we're going to be united. Ukrainians, Americans, Russians, Israelis, we're going to be united anyway, and all the 20th century, we see the process of, integration of different nations, countries. So, and now with the war in Ukraine, we are standing on the next level of the integration process, I'm sure. And this war with Russia, it's also the way of reintegration, because, fighting the conflict is also the process where you want to clarify the relationship. You want to clarify the unity. So how are we united? On which basis are we uniting? So this is the question. What is the subject of this war? So what will be the basis for the unity in the world? Nothing less than that. And the world. Yeah.
Sorry, Glad.
Yeah. Go on, please.
When you cook, for example, you take garlic, which doesn't taste great to eat just straight, but you peel it and then you crush it and then you cook it, and then it's ready to mix with a piece of meat, which you wouldn't just eat straight into your mouth. You would maybe season it with salt, and then you would cook it, and then you put it together. So when you're talking about unity, I'm thinking that our listeners are thinking that you're some global conspiracist, Jewish global conspiracist who's trying to make one world order. When you say everything is moving towards unity, it's like, here, this guy's they brought one of these guys who's part of the Jewish global conspiracy to make one world government. But I understand what you're talking about, and of course, Leo and I both are have the same worldview as far as this goes. That there's not some globalist one world government that's unifying us, but it's nature. And when we look at cooking, for example, in order to bring things together, there's many processes. So the same thing that's happening now, we're going to, some people are from this city are going to smash against people from this city and going to burn people from this city and mix people from that city. But there's definitely a better way to mix than treating us like garlic and meat. There should definitely, with heart, garlic and meat don't have sufficiently developed hearts and minds. But we should certainly, after inventing cell phones and rockets and internets and fashion and movies,
by the way, just to complete the circle of irony, we're talking about the Jews having, needing to bring this unity, but here we have an Israeli prime minister right now in transition, whatever. But he's saying, I think unity is too much. It's like, we're not really going to unite. Why we keep using this artificial word? Let's just settle on mutual respect. That's what he's saying. Like, we can't unite. We can, at best, we can respect each other or certain things. So even as we put this responsibility on Jews, us Jews are not necessarily able to do it. And by the way, I think if you look at Jews in the U.S., I'm not sure they're in a better state themselves. I was just at an event of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs about fighting antisemitism and the delegitimization of Israel and in the U.S. And the amount of breakage, fragmentation in the Jewish world is staggering. Like what unity? What who are you to talk to? I can unite without you. I can unite better than what you can give me. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. Even as we advocate for this, I'm myself. I'm not. Sometimes I can't fully agree with myself. Yeah.
So we'll leave it to the bombs then. That we'll definitely be chopped.
All right.
And mixed
Okay.
and burnt
Settled.
if we don't figure it out.
The bombs are not helping.
They're not helping?
No,
They're not
they're not helping.
They're not helping.
So we need a better plan.
We need plan B.
I don't know. I was really skeptical about those Western democratical liberal values, and I was thinking like, oh, this is maybe some kind of populism, Western populism, but now I think I've changed my mind. I mean, I think that this is anyway we're gonna have to admit some kind of liberal democratical platform around the world. Leaving people a place to be there, to be as they are. Like respecting the others. So this kind of American leftish liberal modern view of the society is not so bad, actually. I can admit right now, because you have to have some kind of platform over which you can start speaking about more spiritual things, because
so
anyway,
Vlad, here's the thing. Because you have rockets from the other side coming, it stabilizes your view about that. Here, because we don't have rockets coming, that left is going way off of the track completely. So it's almost like the left stabilizes as long as there's like rockets over your head, then it's like a good place to be. I mean, God forbid, it's not a good place to be with rockets over your head, but with that other kind of opposing force, it stabilizes. I think what you're talking about.
Yes, it stabilizes, and also we have a kind of right-wing atmosphere also here, because people are fighting for their nationality and for their identity too here. This is also one of the issues of this war. But I'm speaking about the world unity. So I'm speaking about that we're gonna need some kind of like basic platform for everybody, to get united. Okay, I'm respecting who you are. I'm respecting your rights. I don't have anything about your nationality, or I don't pretend on your territory. So this is like this basic liberal things that should work, and because you can't ignore them, trying to unite people and saying, oh, we don't need that, we're gonna use some more spiritual idea. So that's what they're doing right now in Russia. They're saying, okay, guys, we don't need this. We have our own spiritual way. We have our own religion, and our spiritual path tells us that we are able to do that, and we should do that. So I think anyway, the world's going to be moving to the direction of this liberal democracy, and over that probably we will use some kind of educational methods that gonna teach people how to unite over the ego and over the nature, having such having understanding of new spiritual layers of the reality, but this will go above the democratical basis. I believe in that.
So you're saying we're going to go to some democratic foundation and then continue from there, even though in a lot of places around the world everything is moving to the right.
Yeah, man, you don't have a choice, because how can you unite with the people that are ignoring your right to be free? They're saying,
I'm not to open up again, we can have a whole hour just on that, but what's happening. But when you listen to the prime minister in Italy, she was echoing a very deep fear people have over there of the threat to the basic institute of unity, right? The family and the identity and the things that unite people already in a certain way, even in a fundamental way. They were feeling that this unity was being taken away. So in a way, it's funny. You can say, well, liberals want some sort of a global unity, equal rights, everything kind of erased and equalized, while the right is saying, no, it has to start with the fundamental unity, the conservative unity that we grew up on, families, certain values, certain identities. Let's start there and then go from there, maybe. So it's funny. It's almost like, at their heart, both are trying to bring this concept of unity, but they would say, no, it's completely two different ideologies.
Leo, I'm cool with Italy because they have basic rights, these liberal values already. They are like living in the European Union. They have like open borders, and it's okay with them. If they will add a bit of this garlic, as that said, and right-wing ideology a bit, maybe it won't be so bad, for them in their particular, situation.
No, I agree. You can't let any one side just become too extreme. It's too dangerous. So let's bring it home, guys. I mean, we obviously we know each other. We can chit chat here forever. The question is, how are you seeing the next few months? Give us a quick kind of what is your feeling? I'm not saying what is your wish. Just like what do you? There's someone on the ground there. You're in Kiev. What do you think we're going to see in the next couple of months?
I'm afraid the world is really in the crossroad, and we are really facing the nuclear danger right now, and it can happen. Really, it can happen. I don't see really positive perspectives in the direct conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Of course, in some ways we're advancing and we're deoccupying our territories, but Russians have like unlimited human resources, and this can last for years unless the world will not be united. So now the situation is that to change it, to stop it, we need the unity of the world. You need the unity of, let's say, the Western Bloc, maybe around this basic humanitarian values. So that only can stop the situation, and I think this is because the situation is happening. This is the role of this, and the mission of this situation is to clarify the unity of the world. So I see that it can finish only if the big world unity gonna advance, gonna develop to some new stage. And I hope that Jews around the world can help with that, because they really have this, feeling of this general program, and this inner mechanism that, moves everybody to this state. So this is not like a pathetical words for me right now, guys. It's maybe, it can hear like that, but really it's, I feel this as a only perspective for this state right now.
We're having this conversation. It's the first day of the holiday of Sukkot, and people don't really have the sort of the inner meaning of this holiday. I remember growing up, I didn't have that inner meaning at all. I thought it was really commemorating some strange journey through the desert. So for 7 days, we're going to live like in the desert. That was kind of like the myth that as a child growing up in Israel, you were given. But now we know that this is all. It's all an entire set of symbols, and they're all designed to represent one thing, which is to leave our normal, our natural, egoistic inclination, where I only think of myself, and move out into a temporary housing, a temporary desire, a temporary outlook. Sorry, there's this crazy dog here. A temporary outlook on the world where I'm thinking about others first. I'm sort of opening up my little closed house. I'm opening it up. People can come in. I can go visit. We're more concerned with what's happening between us than what's happening just in me. So with that in mind, what is your wish for the Ukrainian people?
You're asking me?
Yeah? Well, Seth, what is your wish for the Ukrainian people? Yeah,
Oh,
give
Vlad,
us your...
for you.
For you.
Actually, my all my grandparents are both either from Ukraine or from Russia, so I'm
Really?
Yeah, I'm mixed. Yeah.
Yeah. Can't you tell?
Yeah.
You know the cities, the places?
Yeah, one is actually my father's side from Kiev.
Oh, you see, cool.
Yeah. Also
Yeah, we
Belarus.
it's a very interesting story. We had a very strong community, and it's funny that we have, like, in architectural world, we have like the Nobel Prize in architecture. It's called Pritzker Prize. Maybe you've heard of it. And why it's called Pritzker Prize? Because the family who founded this prize have family name Pritzker, and Pritzker is a village near Kiev. So that's why this family name came here from this place too. But what I would wish for Ukrainian people in this autumn holidays, Jewish holidays time, is that it's kind of revolutionary period, and I also felt it latest years that something very important happened often in my life in this period, beginning from Rosh Hashanah and to Sukkot time. And for now, what Leo said about this temporary housing, we feel this, right now. We feel this, that all our life is temporary, and all our housing is temporary. Although you can feel it solid and confident, but since it's also it's also temporary. It's you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and you are always ready to move. You're always ready to change. So I would wish for everybody, having this temporary situation. A lot of my friends got old for last 6 months. Guys I've just I meet them after 6 months. I didn't see them, and they're like got old like years because of that. So I would wish, having this temporary situation, this to find this inner force, inner basis, which will help people feeling that they're standing on both feet and that they're holding to their mission in their life, that they have fulfillment, that they have force, that they have energy, and living in this temporary housing. So that's what I would wish to Ukrainian people right now. And they're like meeting me and saying, "Oh, Vlad, you are looking very good for this dramatic situation." So because I really feel this inner support, and also from you guys too. I'm not afraid, and I'm happy. I think I have some things to do here, because I was really planning to leave Ukraine before the war and I couldn't. So probably there is a cause for me to stay here. So everything's good, and I think we'll all move to the next degree. Very interesting and exciting.
By the way, that's a good selling point for for unity and love. It makes you look younger. It's good for your skin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seth, do you have any questions to Vlad? Because I have one last question.
No, right now I'm just hoping for that. The next time we talk, everything is better somehow.
So my question to you, Vlad, is now if you could speak to. Obviously, we'll probably have Russian Jews, Russian people listening. What would you tell them? What would you ask them or wish for them or?
The same. I would wish for them the same. We're all going through hard times right now, and I think that what I've discovered, guys, this is really what I would like to share with you and with the Russians and with the Ukrainians, is that there is a state where you can feel the unity of your friends, of people you love, and you can feel the unity with the world. And this state really changes your life, because in some moments, if you go with this flow of life, everything can change only in the moment, depending on what thoughts are you thinking of now, so which turn you will take now, which situation will arrive right now in your life. In some moments, in some very important moments in life, this what changes the story. How do you feel right now? What are you thinking of? Are you really feeling yourself united to the people you love? I'm not speaking about, some high degrees spiritual things, but, these basic things. So I would wish for Russians, to try to find this inner resource in them. And maybe in some situation, this might save them too, this state.
I like that. Well, this is it for us. This is the Jew function, where we try to figure out the solution to all of humanity's problems. Maybe starting with Jews. And my door is opening. I'm getting the applause sign. So obviously, if you made it this far, like us, follow us on thejewfunction.com, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube at The Jew Function. We'd love to have more people come talk to us. Russians, Ukrainians, Haitians, it doesn't matter. If you want to talk about solving humanity's biggest problems and asking the deepest questions about life, this is it. So with that, we'll see everybody on the next Jew Function talk.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Vlad.
Thanks, Vlad. Be safe, be well. We're thinking of you.